Next time you're booking a sun and sand holiday, just remember that not all beaches are created equal, especially when it comes down to safety. In fact, some of the world's beaches are downright dangerous, including some of the ones you might be tempted to visit if you didn't know better. Today, we're about to see the 10 most dangerous beaches around the world. But before that, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe and click the notification bell for more amazing content. Alright, here we go. Number 10. Praia do Norte, Nazare, Portugal. The video above probably gives a bit of a clue as to why Nazare in Portugal makes it onto our list of dangerous beaches. In fact, you might need to look a little closer to spot the surfer, a mere speck on the face of this enormous wave. Nazare is one of the oldest and most popular holiday resorts on Portugal's Atlantic coast. Every summer, the beaches of the traditional fishing village become a mecca for holidaying Portuguese families. It's also home to some freakish bathymetry. Look that one up, with a deep oceanic trench pointing from deep water straight to the seaside town. The effect of this is to funnel already huge Atlantic swells straight to the town's north beach, Praia do Norte. By the time the waves hit the coast, they are huge. The biggest waves ever surfed, in fact, at over 100 foot or 30 meters. Such waves are potentially lethal to the most experienced of surfers kitted out with specialist equipment, let alone the average beachgoer. Whilst the waves at Nazare are not always bigger than houses, they are often large and powerful enough to make them a danger to all but the most experienced surfers. Number 9. Arnhem Land Beaches, Australia. As they like to say in Australia, if it moves, assume it can kill you. Nowhere is this more true than in the remote Northern Territory, where they have all the usual menaces, plus giant crocodiles and deadly jellyfish. Arnhem Land, and Top End in particular, is home to a massive population of both saltwater and freshwater crocodiles. This is a real shame, as many of the beaches here, such as Galaru and Bawaka, are absolutely stunning. Uncrowded stretches of pearl white sand, azure waters and swaying palms. However, it's hard to relax even out of the water when you know what may be lurking. If you were to enter the water, and we suggest you don't, then there's always the risk of being stung by one of two dangerous species of jellyfish. The box jellyfish, or Can&amp, with its 2-meter-long tentacles loaded with thousands of venomous stingers, can at the very least deliver an agonizing sting. At worst, it'll kill you, especially given the remoteness of some of these beaches. The same is true of the irukandji jellyfish, which is possibly even more venomous. In addition, the sting can lead to irukandji syndrome, a condition lasting up to several days, with one of the symptoms being a sense of impending doom. Of course, all the other usual suspects can also be found up here, including sharks, stonefish, and even the blue-ringed octopus. Number 8. Ness, United Kingdom. Located at the mouth of the River Thames, Ness is the typical example of a somewhat faded British seaside town. You won't find palm trees or white sand on the beaches here, just pebbles and shingle sloping into the slightly murky waters of the river estuary. On the face of it, there's nothing remarkable about Ness's beachfront, no obvious dangers or sense of impending doom, but this is a town sitting on a time bomb, quite literally. In August of 1944, towards the end of World War II, the American cargo ship SS Richard Montgomery ran aground on the Nore sandbank around a mile off Ness. The ship was carrying around 1,500 tons of high explosives in the form of various types of bombs. Some of the munitions were recovered initially, but the vast majority remain on board, considered far too dangerous to attempt to move and only becoming more volatile as time goes by. It's estimated that if the cargo were to explode, it would be one of the largest non-nuclear explosions of all time. The Halifax explosion that occurred in 1917 in Canada gives an idea of the carnage that such an incident might cause. Roughly twice as many explosives went off in the built-up harbour, resulting in 2,000 deaths and the obliteration of everything within half a mile. If the SS Richard Montgomery's cargo were to explode, the effects would be less drastic, but a small tsunami and structural damage to buildings in Ness have been suggested. Number 7. Byron Bay, New South Wales, Australia. Byron Bay established itself a reputation as a bit of a hippie enclave back in the 1970s. There's no doubt this laid-back vibe still persists, and along with the stunning unspoiled beaches and coastline, Byron remains a staple of the Aussie backpacker trail. The pristine waters of this section of the New South Wales coast form the Cape Byron Marine Park, which is home to dolphins, rays, turtles and even whales. Oh, and did I mention sharks? Big ones. Australia has the highest number of fatal shark attacks in the world, so it seems logical that the sharkiest beach in Australia has to be somewhere on our list of dangerous beaches. Deciding which beach in Australia is the most dangerous is a little tricky though, with potential candidates coming from New South Wales and Western Australia. There is a difference though. There are twice as many attacks in New South Wales as in Western Australia, but only a third as many fatalities. However, a quick trawl through the figures reveals two candidates both with two shark-related deaths over the past 20 years. Cottesloe Beach in Perth and Byron Bay. Given that Byron had 3 times as many attacks, 12, it seems that clearly this is the most dangerous beach in terms of sharks in Australia. Number 6. Acapulco, Mexico. Acapulco was once the most iconic of Mexican holiday destinations. Think spring break, cliff divers, golden sand beaches and year-round sunshine. While all this is still here, Acapulco's reputation as a holiday resort now has to compete with a darker claim to fame, that of the second-place murder capital of the world. Over recent years, the state of Guerrero and Acapulco in particular have become the scene of a vicious turf war between rival drug cartels. In the US State Department's travel advisories, Acapulco is given a danger rating comparable to Afghanistan and Syria. They state violent crime, such as homicide, kidnapping, carjacking and robbery, is widespread. That said, Acapulco is still getting by as a holiday resort. Admittedly, numbers are way down on the heydays back in the 70s, but many Americans still make it down here and back, and there is a growing number of Mexican holidayers visiting. The advice appears to be to stay in the touristy areas, keep your wits about you, and definitely don't go looking to score drugs. Number 5. Praia de Boa Viagem, Recife, Brazil. Boa Viagem is the upmarket beachfront district of the northern Brazilian city of Recife. Here you'll find palm-lined golden sand beaches backed by shiny new high-rise buildings. The cafes and bars are always bustling and the beach itself is a hub of activity. Imagine this now. It's hot, the sun is out, and there are lovely little waves breaking just off the beach. But nobody is in the water deeper than their knees. Look closely and you'll see why. Along the beach are over 100 signs warning swimmers and banning surfers from entering the water. The reason? Boa Viagem is one of the highest number of fatal shark attacks anywhere on Earth. Since 1992, there have been over 60 attacks reported on this stretch of coast, 24 of which were fatal. What is strange about the beaches of Recife is that until the 1990s there were practically no attacks. It's believed the sudden rise in number was due to the development of the nearby Port Suape, which involved diverting the flow of several rivers. One theory is that this prevented bull sharks accessing the rivers, diverting them to the shores of Recife's beaches. Number 4. Reunion Island. The idyllic tropical Reunion Island is a French dependency set in the Indian Ocean. With an interior of rainforest-covered volcanic peaks and a coastline of coral reefs and pristine white sand beaches, it should be on every beach lover's bucket list. But beneath the often perfect waves, there is a deadly menace. There is a lot of hysteria and sensationalism about shark attacks, with the actual threat being minuscule. In most places on the planet with a reputation as being a bit sharky, people tend to just carry on. Swimmers still swim, surfers still surf, and divers still dive. This is not the case in Reunion. For an island with a healthy tourist trade, it's a pretty drastic step to ban swimming and surfing on most beaches as a result of the number of attacks. Since 2011, there have been over 20 shark attacks here, of which 8 were fatal. In 2017, Reunion accounted for nearly half the fatal attacks around the world, leading to it being dubbed Shark Attack Capital of the World. Number 3. North Sentinel Island, Andaman Islands. The Andaman Islands sit at the far side of the Bay of Bengal in the Indian Ocean. Something of a tropical idyll, this chain of 300 islands is home to tropical rainforests fringed with palm-lined white sand beaches and coral reefs. Their isolated location puts them somewhat off the beaten track, and this is even more the case for some of the more remote islands. North Sentinel Island is one of these remote islands and has virtually escaped the modern world. But this island, which is about the size of Manhattan, is not uninhabited. It's home to the Sentinelese tribe, possibly the most isolated and most dangerous tribe on Earth. Very little is known about the Sentinelese, including how many there are. Estimates vary from between 15 and 500. What is known as their way of life appears to have changed little since the Stone Age, and they don't like visitors. Various attempts at contact with the tribe have been made over the years, but nearly all have ended in a hail of arrows being fired at the visitors. Of course, there are plenty of other beautiful beaches to be found in the Andaman Islands, which won't result in a high chance of death, but very few can claim to be this unspoilt. Number 2. Kawaii Beach, Kauai, Hawaii. In terms of do not enter the water danger, Kawaii Beach on Kauai's Napali coast tops the list. It can be reached via a stunning hiking trail that'll leave you sweaty, sun-kissed and achy, enough to tempt you to dive into the water. But be warned, the absence of a reef to hinder ocean swells, a hazardous high surf, dangerous shore breaks and super strong rip currents have contributed to many drowning deaths between 1970 and 2010. A famous warning sign shows over 80 tally marks representing those killed by unseen currents on the beach. It serves as a stark reminder to stay away from the water. We're almost at the end of our list, but before moving on to number 1, here is an interesting video which is worth checking out. Sea foam might seem like an odd thing to see on a beach, but these are not an uncommon sight here on the Australian coast. The foam has taken over large swathes of the beach because of a tropical cyclone which passed through Australia. These foams are actually impurities in the ocean that get pushed up by the powerful storm currents and finally come to the surface and rest on the beach. They might look like fun to play with, but best not to since they are dirt after all. Number 1. Bolsa Chica State Beach, California. At first glance, Bolsa Chica State Beach might just seem like any other stretch of sand in California, but in December 2015, the Surf Rider Foundation made a terrifying discovery. During that period, a worker spotted the body of a poisonous sea snake that sported a yellow stomach. It turned out to be a Pelamis platura. That particular snake usually stays in the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, according to the NBC Los Angeles website. However, following a heat wave, it's believed that the reptile was attracted to the waters near Bolsa Chica State Beach. While this was only the third documented case of such a creature reaching California's shores, sunbathers should still keep their eyes out. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button, do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up my next video.